I am here to introduce the next part of the evening. This is when we ask an established and successful writer to help us celebrate a teacher that helped inspire them whenever they needed that inspiration. And tonight we are so fortunate to have the extraordinarily talented and acclaimed novelist Brit Bennett to present the Inspiration Award to her teacher, Christine Barras Esteban. Now, Brit's debut novel introduced the literary world to a startling new talent, The Mothers, which I think, again, is on your table if it hasn't been grabbed already. Was a New York Times bestseller. Her follow-up, The Vanishing Half, was an instant #1 bestseller. Her characters reckon with their past and their choices in lyrical, dazzling prose. She has appeared in the Time 100 Next list and was praised there by Tayari Jones as a writer resetting the standards of American literature. Brit earned her master's degree in fiction at the University of Michigan's Helen Zell MFA program. Her essays have been featured in The New Yorker, The New York Times Magazine, The Paris Review, and Jezebel. Please welcome Brit Bennett.
Hi, thank you so much for that really warm introduction. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all having a great night. I'm Brit Bennett, and I am thank you. And I'm honored to present the 2025 Inspiring Teacher Award to my 11th grade English teacher, Christine Esteban. So I first met Mrs. Esteban in AP English Language and Composition, which was a class that I was not exactly thrilled to be taking. I've always liked English class, mainly because it was an excuse to read novels. The purpose of AP Composition, however, was to study nonfiction, to analyze the argument in a text and eventually learn how to craft our own. Which meant I thought that September that instead of doing what I love to do, which was thinking about story and character and plot, I would be plodding through dry texts and pretending to hold opinions that I did not care about, all in order to earn an A. Isn't that what school was for? Instead, I wandered into a classroom that molded me not just as a writer, but as a thinker. Mrs. Esteban challenged us, assigned difficult readings, and pushed us to communicate our ideas clearly. For the first time I could remember, I wasn't reading classic novels by dead authors. Instead, I read essays about politics and history and culture that forced me to examine my own assumptions and clarify my opinions about the world. Up until this point, I'd always felt that the purpose of school was achievement, earning good grades so that you could go to a good college. But in Mrs. Esteban's class, I realized that I didn't want to just be a good student. I wanted to learn how to think for myself, to identify flimsy arguments, to hold my own mind up to constant scrutiny. Years later, I would begin my career as a published writer, not in the world of fiction, but in the world of the political essay, a world that Mrs. Esteban introduced me to. Beyond her teaching, I've never forgotten the passion that Mrs. Esteban brought to the classroom. One afternoon, we were giving peer evaluations for a writing assignment, and 2 straight-A students started snickering over the writing and the essay that they were grading. When Mrs. Esteban realized this, she sent them out of the classroom. The rest of the class fell silent, as amused as we always were when our peers were chastened. But then I noticed that Mrs. Esteban had tears in her eyes. She said, "There are some of you that this comes easily to, and you have no idea how hard your classmates work. How dare you mock them?" I was someone that school came easily to, and I realized 3 things in that moment. Mrs. Esteban cared about us deeply. She recognized the vulnerability that learning requires and wanted to protect that. And I never wanted to be the type of person who valued achievement over empathy. There's one more moment I remember from that year in Mrs. Esteban's class. I'd entered an in-person essay contest in hopes of earning a small scholarship, and I came in 2nd place. One of the judges told me that the reason why I hadn't placed first is that the panel thought my essay was too polished. No kid from Oceanside could have written that, they said. It must have been lifted from somewhere. When I told this to Mrs. Esteban, she was so outraged that she wanted to reach out to the organizers of the scholarship contest on my behalf. She was sick of the low expectations placed on the kids from our community. She'd spent 20 years teaching public schools in a district that was often maligned relative to the wealthier counties of San Diego. But she was fiercely protective over her students and guarded our potential. It's easy for me to imagine another world where a baseless plagiarism accusation completely demoralized me as a young writer. If this was what happened when you try, then why even bother? Instead, I was grateful to Mrs. Esteban for defending me and reminding me that my work had value. Mrs. Esteban taught me that words matter, but so do the people who write them. She taught me that empathy is more important than achievement, a lesson that has followed me into my life as a novelist today. And I know that for every student who sat in her classroom, she planted those same seeds of curiosity, courage, and care. So tonight it is my honor to present the 2025 Inspiring Teaching Award to Christine Esteban. Thank you, Mrs. Esteban, for believing in your students and for teaching. And for teaching us lessons that extend far beyond the classroom.
That's a hard one to follow. Oh. These are teacher tears. First, I'd like to thank the Writers Museum, Carrie Cranston, and most importantly, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to Brit Bennett, my very accomplished former high school English student, for bestowing such an esteemed honor on my behalf. When I sat down to write this speech, expressing my appreciation for being chosen for this award, the word application asked if I wanted the AI co-pilot to assist. Did I? Of course not. Because I wanted to write my own story and be organically authentic in this moment of recognition for the time when Brit was my student 17 years ago. As you know, AI continues to invade our space, pushing us to use its technology instead of our own brain, and I did not succumb. To be chosen as one who has inspired another is one of the greatest honors of all, and certainly the pinnacle of my career. It means more than Teacher of the Year or a Hollywood Oscar, because those accolades are not much more than popularity contests. To be in the position of encouraging a young student, a young person, and impacting their life's choices is a delicate and responsible position of influence, requiring a caring and guiding hand of spoken words and actions. A high school teacher is an instructor, a counselor, a coach, a listener, an advisor, and a role model. We are genuine supporters of students' dreams and aspirations, giving them space to grow into themselves. I've owned a small business. I've practiced law. Scott. But no career was as important to me as performing the duties of a high school English teacher. I couldn't wait to go to class each day, and it was difficult for me to leave, usually not until hours after the last school bell. Most years, I welcomed 200 students a day, 40 students every 55 minutes over 5 periods. Lunch was optional, and often while tutoring. No matter the workload, it was important to find moments to connect with the singular need of every student. The effort and seeds planted blossomed into students' futures as they became parents, recording artists, disc jockeys, teachers, doctors, and yes, even a New York Times best-selling author. We often measure our success in life through the amount of money we make, titles earned, who loves us, and who we have loved. As a teacher, my reward was the cards and letters written to me at the end of the school year from my beloved students, and I saved them, all of them. Some are gathered in a large frame on a wall in the hallway of my home, reminding me of my young charges in the teaching days. Others are tucked away in a box for nostalgic reading in my later years. But there are two which are intimately held under separate frames, standing apart from all the others because they express something specific and profound about my teaching and the impact it had on their learning. One was written to me my first year of teaching AP language by a student who went on to become a teacher herself. The only other one getting a prominent place on my bookshelf is from Brit. Brit's message to me was a template of the teaching standards that I embraced for every student, a testament of transformative critical thinking students experience through my instruction, allowing for their own personal awakenings and realizations. As suggested by Brit in her note to me at the end of the school year, I allowed for the discussion of topics, posed questions to challenge students' opinions and beliefs, and to encourage their thinking and give space for students to draw their own conclusions. Brit took every opportunity in class to question, to formulate, to explain, and to grow as a person and as a writer, blossoming into the competent, confident, and highly talented writer that she has become. She had the courage to consider beliefs contrary to her own, how to think, how to consider varied facets of human nature, and consequently how to become a better writer, as she has proven over and over again. Authors employ their lens to tell us stories about the human condition of ourselves, our political times, family dynamics, love, loss, the complications of human behaviors, the struggles with life in the aggregate, and truths behind the facades. They share viewpoints of life through their stories so we don't feel alone in this often difficult maneuvering of life, to enlighten our perspectives, to reveal hidden truths, to understand ourselves in a new light, or to feel compassion and empathy for others on a similar trajectory. As a successful and respected author, Brit Bennett has aspired to and has accomplished the same intention through her storytelling, unearthing human character in relatable ways, bringing her readers to the very core of her understanding of human nature, and doing so with the deft skills of a writer's tools, bringing life's triumphs and tragedies to life. Her stories are an extension of her varied experiences as she demonstrates her comprehension of human behavior through her masterful art of writing. We never know what sort of an impact we make on another unless and until it is made known to us in some way. To know that Brit chose me as the one who inspired her writing, her career path as a teller of important stories, is the highest honor for me or for any teacher. I am delighted by her selecting me from her vast pool of teachers and professors. It truly is the highest compliment, and this moment, right now, is the most defining moment of my career. To be acknowledged by such an accomplished young woman for the contributions I made towards her writing life in just a blink of an eye in her life story. I will be eternally grateful for this award. I'm so proud of Brit and all her accomplishments, and will feel the value of my contribution to her education for the rest of my life. Thank you.